we're entering the wastewater treatment. Sounds of water. This is a huge facility. We'll have more information as we tour it, get brochures, etc. But this went for miles along the road as we turned in to enter the facility. There are restrooms here, of course, goes right into the treatment plant. And so we're stopping here.
And you'll be fine. And then what we'd like you to do is go to the info booth.
And we will.
Yep.
And that's straight in.
That is. They've
All
got
right.
goodies for you and information.
Tap water comes from our tap water that comes from wells, or they come from the Russian River.
Okay, so we know the Russian River is very polluted and it has had sewerage spills in it. So that is why then it's being treated and then offered as tap water. Is that why you have to treat the Russian River water?
Well, you have to treat all
Surface
raw water. All raw water needs to have a certain amount of treatment applied to it.
Raw water.
Raw
Okay,
water. So that
interesting.
would be any water. You know, there's nobody who drinks water from a stream. You could go up into the mountains. You drink the water from the mountains, you'll get giardia. You have to filter the water, no matter what you do.
So all atmospheric water needs then to be filtered rather than water that would come from down below.
Atmospheric
water.
water. You mean like rainwater?
snowmelt.
Rainwater is probably mostly pure.
Are you ready to go?
Rainwater is mostly pure, and if you, depending on what surface you're collecting it off, that's where the impurities get in.
So the rainwater, as it's collected into the reservoirs and flows over farmlands that are using pesticides and other pollutants, that then become an entrapment in reservoirs, is pure. Because they have to put all
Well, that's
kinds
why I
of
said
chemicals
that's
in
why
to
it depends
treat
on the surface that you're collecting it off
all
of.
the
right?
surfaces are pretty
Yeah.
toxic, wouldn't you say?
I don't think I would say that.
And why?
Why aren't all the surfaces toxic? Well, because there's natural cycles, and in every cycle, there's every part of the life cycle of organisms. The plants help feed bacteria and nematodes and other soil organisms that help cleanse and eat the things that are in the water. So nitrogen and phosphorus are great pollutants, but they're also great fertilizers for plant growth. And so there's these natural cycles that occur.
So let me stop you right now, though, and I want to ask you another question, but I'd like to film these pictures here. So if you would just catch these pictures. This is before. Describe before for us. What does that mean in a sentence?
So before, here's a typical landscape where turf has been used as a green cover over the ground.
And this is less desirable than the after. Because it's saying water smart. Ask us about free tools, tips, and rebates. Efficiency is beautiful. So tell me, why is after better than the before?
So after has a much more diverse plant palette. So you have a diversity of plants, which means you have a greater diversity of plant root depths. And the plant roots actually become a major component of soil and soil building processes. And organisms use plant roots. They attach to them, they might get energy from them, and they might help the plant survive. With the turf, you don't get that so much. Turf, you have to add all the inputs. Turf requires external fertilizers and lots of herbicides to keep it weed free, whereas in the other area, the natural processes that happen with
A variety of a plant
variety
palette
of
is
plants
what you're saying. I understand.
will help,
Okay.
and it doesn't require fertilizer.
Can you just answer some questions? Okay, so no face. So we're here at the Laguna Wastewater Treatment Plant. Today is Saturday, and it is September the 22nd of 2018. We're waiting to go on our walking tour of the treatment plant. So in the meantime, we're here getting some very valuable information from the various presentations and kiosks with brochures and so forth. I've just picked up a kid's coloring book, and it's an opportunity for children to color, play games, color, and learn about water with Dewey and Misty. And they come with crayons as well. What I would like is an explanation of what the children will learn from this coloring book. So if you would just give me a sentence about what the opportunity of learning is by children coloring in this coloring book. What is their take home?
Okay, outcome would be you learn about all the different functions that the water department for the city does. Different cities will do various things. Some places you have a special district that will do those jobs. We do the sanitary. We provide the water to the homes, and we take away the wastewater in the sanitary. We also have a recycled water program, and most of our water that is treated here actually goes out to either the geysers or irrigation, or goes out to like farms.
So let me ask you, I was noticing coming down Llano, there was a sign that said only organic. Does that mean that they're not accepting the recycled wastewater treatment that you offer many of the grasslands here in the area? Do you know the sign I'm speaking of?
Oh, that was down the road?
Yes, it was.
I believe that is a, I think isn't that the,
It's a farm, an
yeah,
organic farm.
It's an organic
And
farm.
do you know that what their position is with the wastewater? Is that a sign against wastewater or not, as far as you know?
As far as I know, I don't think it's against the treatment plant, but you wouldn't consider it organic.
No, and you wouldn't.
You could, yeah.
You could not consider it organic if they were accepting wastewater treatment
But
as a form of irrigation. Is that correct?
As far as I know.
Okay. So let me then ask you, so when you say wastewater treatment, and we see these signs, recycled water since like 1978. We'll see these signs around many of the pastures and areas where I see dairy cattle grazing and where I see grass being grown, like for example on Occidental Road. That would not be considered organic then?
Probably not. I wouldn't think so.
Okay, so and so you don't think so because we're talking about human waste being distributed?
Yes, no,
That's what we're talking
really
about.
Isn't anything in there, and it's clean. It matches our drinking water quality. But you have that ick factor, so people don't want to.
So people don't want to drink it.
Yeah.
Well, because we're hearing more and more now that recycled sewer water is being used now for disbursement into the municipal water supplies. So you're hearing this as well, is that correct?
Yes, as far as I know, it might be the way of the future that you have to. It has to be sufficient supplies for everybody, and this is one place to get it.
So it's sufficient supply of water because we're running out of water?
Well, I mean, droughts, climate change, there's
So
going to be more droughts, so it can get harder in some places.
Okay, so many people are discovering primary water of being the originating source of all water supplies. It's new water that's created down below the mantle of the earth. And so it's an interesting situation that is occurring that we're not hearing much about. So it's just interesting that we're treating sewage to redistribute it in the municipal water supply because of all of the... Now, how about, where would I find here a list of things that are removed from the water? Do we know that fluoride is removed from the water?
Hot dogs are being served.
They don't put fluoride in the water here.
Good, I'm about to go back to the back 40.
Where would you go, if you were me, to find the list of contaminants that this treatment plant is removing?
It's gonna be a lonely
I
time.
can't think of any place that would have it. They may. I mean, they
Claire got
have
this
an idea what they return. There's a number of
It's gonna be harder to
chemists here, and they test the water all the time.
talk because we're gonna be separated.
Next to us.
Yeah.
Great.
no,
We'll head over there.
Yeah. next
Okay.
door, yeah.
Experts on
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thanks. Thank you for the.
Okay.
A water bear. In our mixed liquor, there are these microorganisms. They're a little bit bigger than these guys. They'll actually eat some of the smaller microorganisms that we find in our activated sludge, like some of the...
So now, when you say activated sludge, you are talking about sewer water.
No, this is our activated sludge. It's called mixed liquor.
Okay.
If you take the hayride or a walking tour, you'll learn about the mixed liquor river. We actually add this to our treatment system. And it, you can see it's kind of, I keep picking it up, but all the solid waste, these kinds of critters will eat the solid waste and then they'll settle down because they'll be so heavy. And then in the bottom of the mixed liquor river,
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you say solid waste, would you please explain exactly what you mean by solid waste?
poop.
Okay, because that's what I asked, and I asked if it was sewer water. So how are you talking about? Poop
Okay,
if
so
it's
it
not
is
sewer
it is
water?
sewer water. I apologize.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
so it the mixed liquor is not sewer water. Our sewer water is mixed with this mixed liquor versus so the mixed liquor is not sewer water, but the sewer water does mix with it and then it settles out and it takes out all that bacteria and then what's left is our waste activated sludge, which we then thicken, dry, take it over to compost, and that gets mixed in the compost.
And then where is that sludge distributed?
The compost?
Yes.
Wherever compost decides to land apply, we have city farms that land apply.
So land applying for distribution of the sludge from the
Well, it's just a way to reuse it rather
I
than
got it.
taking it to the landfill and just throwing it in the landfill. We have found that if we add our thickened waste activated sludge, which turns into biosolids, into our compost, a certain percentage of it, I'm not sure the percentage, Amy next door can help with that. That is then used for land application on farms. Most of the farms on Llano are city owned or partners with the city, and they can use that, and it's a better fertilizer than most of the ones that they get because of the nitrogen that we add with our mixed liquor.
So now, when you say the farms along Yama Road partner with the city, it's the benefit that they are then being able to use the what you would consider the benefits of treated sewer water. Is that right?
Yes, and they use our actual water as well, our final effluent. They can use for watering when we have excess.
Okay, so is that drinkable?
Because of the unknown quantity of medications that are flushed, I don't know if it's drinkable, but we do test every year. The only watering they do is for feed, and we test every year that feed, and we test the soil for bacteria, for metals, for anything that could make a human sick or an animal sick. We test that every year to make sure that the levels are still appropriate.
Okay, so now let me ask you, what about testing for fluoride? Because we know that does get into...
It does, and we test for fluoride every month. We don't fluoridate city water.
Right, no, I realize
but
that.
it doesn't come in through the system either. But we do
Medications and
test.
people that
Yeah, we
use
do test for it
toothpaste.
monthly. Yeah,
Okay.
and the levels are under 1 part per trillion.
So the water sources that end up in this treatment plant are only from Santa Rosa?
No, we also partner with Katati, Sebastopol. I believe that's Katati, Sebastopol, not Windsor, and then the unincorporated areas. Like this is technically unincorporated. So
What about Healdsburg?
Healdsburg has their own treatment plant, as does Windsor, and then Petaluma has their own treatment plant.
Okay.
So Roanoke Park as well we partner with. So we take all of that waste.
So of all that you know about the treatment of water as the ultimate idea of being able to offer more drinkable water with higher levels of treatment for municipal water supplies? Because that's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, that is happening. So, what is your how broad is your understanding of using sewer water, treated sewer water for municipal drinking water? How prevalent is that in this area?
It's not prevalent in this area, and it's because of what we call contaminants of emerging concern. We're now learning with all the medications or products that we use that go down into the system, we're just now learning what those break down into and how those affect humans. People can flush their birth control pills down the drain, but by the time it gets here and through the treatment system, we don't know what's left. We don't know if it's estrogen 1, we don't know if it's estradiol. So before we can determine what the breakdown parts of each medication is, there's not really a way to test for it. We can do HPLC, which is a detection for things like that, but we don't know what we're looking for.
Okay, so then let me ask you, because we know that many wastewater, sewer water treatment plants, or toilet to tap, as people call it, would have the concerns that you're speaking of, and they are being used for municipal drinking water.
I don't know of anyone in California that is. I don't think it's allowed yet, and it's because of those contaminants of emerging concern, because we just don't know exactly what we're looking for. I think down in the Central Valley they do groundwater recharge, where they do take their final effluent and put it back through the ground to go back into the water table that is then put back into the system, the drinking water system, but then it goes through all of that treatment as well.
So let me ask you kind of a little side question here. Maybe you would know the answer, maybe you wouldn't. But I'm talking to people that are now learning that there are 2 levels of water supply. There's the secondary water supply that comes from rain and snowmelt, which is what I'm guessing you might be considering to be the water supply, rain and snowmelt. Okay, because what we do know is that water's created down below
Right.
from hydrogen and oxygen
Yes.
that merge together as a vapor.
Yes.
And then surface in fissures and cracks, hot and cold springs, oases, geysers, etc. And that is unadulterated, pure, new water.
Right.
It doesn't have any effluent properties to it at all because it's down below the recharged aquifers that are like basins
Right.
that prevent the water from going further oftentimes than just the floor of the basin. So would it, in your knowledge bank, would it not be better to be looking and drilling for that pure, clean water than to concern ourselves with treating sewer water for municipal water consumption?
That pure water is going to be limited, for my knowledge.
It's limited.
It's limited because there's only so much hydrogen in the atmosphere and in the ground. There's only so much oxygen in the atmosphere and in the ground. People think we're only breathing oxygen, but it's about 20% oxygen that we breathe. So it's all going to be limited. It's never going to be replenished.
So wait a second. So you're
But
saying-
hydrogen is one of the most prevalent
It
elements
is,
in the
but
universe.
it's still finite.
Really?
There's only a finite amount. You can't create hydrogen. It's an element. It doesn't come from anywhere.
Now, do you have a bachelor's degree, or what is it that you have? Because you sound like you've really studied this. So where did you get most of your information?
Mostly the junior college and working. I've worked about 13 years in the industry, and I've been very interested, and I want to know everything that I possibly can know. So I want to
we
be
do too.
knowledgeable.
And we do too.
I'm glad. It's good to see public who are really interested and want to know, because it's really important. It's important. We only have so much water.
No, we don't. And that's what I was trying to
Okay.
Okay, primary water is new water. It's a renewable. It's continuously made down below the mantle.
Okay.
In fact, if you look at the Great Man-Made River Project by Muammar Gaddafi, you will find that he accessed primary water for his people, and he had a labyrinth of plumbing under the desert. He was able to deliver pure, fresh, unadulterated water.
Right.
It was blown up, by the United States and NATO.
Right.
It was the 8th wonder of the world. The IQs are much higher when people are accessing primary water than they are drinking this affluent water. So let's pan these vials, and if you could just explain to us, this is the process, this is raw.
So this is our raw influent water. It is post rag and grit removal, so it's
when
just
you mean
water.
post, it's after.
After, yes, it is after like toilet paper chunk removal.
Now we're saying chunk poop removal.
Yes,
And we're talking about hypodermic needles, and we're talking about wipes.
Everything.
And everything that people flush down.
yes,
So this is right after the removal of the chunks.
yes,
This is what we get. So
yes.
we want to drink this.
No.
Okay, so we wouldn't want to drink that.
This still has, I mean, a considerable amount of solid waste down in the
So
bottom.
that we're looking at all kinds of poop and other things.
Yes,
So
and
this is
ground up toilet paper that's too small to be caught by our, it's little hooks. If you take the tour, you'll see. And then this is our primary effluent. This is after our first treatment, and it goes through settling. So this is after our settling ponds. And as you can see, even the water's a little bit clearer. There's fewer chunks on the sides here, and a considerable amount less down here.
For how long is it allowed to settle?
I think it's about 12 hours. It's not too long. You'll see there's tanks, clarifier tanks, and there's a skimmer on top, and then everything settles down into the bottom. And so it gets rid of a lot of this and a lot of the stuff that's on the side and floating.
So then the final vial.
So this is our final effluent. This is what comes out and what we mostly send to the geysers to be steamed out.
Now,
And
why is it steamed out at the geysers? What's the benefit of steaming this out at the geysers? Now, the geysers are on the ridge top
Yes.
of the mountain range right behind
It's a
us.
power. We use it for power a lot. I believe there's a geysers table. They can explain that more to you. I'm not fully
So you
sure
haven't
on
yet
that.
toured the geysers.
No, I have not. And we use this as well, like I was saying, to water the grain fields for the farmers out on Lano out there. We haven't discharged in several years. We're supposed to discharge into the Russian River, but we like to avoid that. at
Now, wait
all
a minute.
costs.
When you mean discharge into the Russian River,
Well, it's the Laguna de Santa Rosa.
Right.
And so before we can do that,
before you can discharge,
there's
into-
requirements we have to meet for testing. And even though we can meet those, we like to not have to do that. We don't want to have to introduce water to a system.
So what you're saying is the Russian River has notoriously been known for raw sewage
Right.
floating down it.
Yes.
So how is that even happening?
I have heard rumors, I don't know if they're true, that there are houses with treatment septic systems that are grandfathered in because they've been there so long that go straight into the river. And that's in Guerneville, around there.
So you aren't certain about that then?
I'm not certain. It's what I've heard from several people. And I've done projects with the North Coast Regional Water Quality Board on bacterial contamination in the Russian River.
Okay, and it's high, I'm imagining.
It is high.
Okay, so basically then what I'm understanding is it really is not safe to swim in because somebody recently did get ill swimming there.
On beaches, they are held to strict bacterial standards. There has to be a certain under a certain level of contamination to allow people to swim on public beaches. People, of course, are going to go wherever they want in the river, but because it's not a public beach, it's at your own risk.
Okay, so let's just, if you wouldn't mind, run this laboratory and the photo behind us here.
Good, how are you?
Really appreciate your explanation.
No problem.
Very concerned about the lack of knowledge on primary water.
We mix it with green yard waste. All of that stuff used to go to landfill, and that's just not sustainable, and it's also not going to be allowed in a few years.
About that.
Okay.
And want to invite you to learn more about that.
Okay.
Would you like some information
I would.
on that? Okay. I have
So in here is our mixed liquor. It's basically our.
have it, a finite resource in water, and just go to that.
Okay, thank you.
You're most welcome.
And one other question, is the water in the sewer system separate from the storm drain system?
Yes, completely.
It's not a combined system?
no, not
And
at
you know that for a fact.
all. Not positive.
So where would we go to be sure?
That direction.
How
There's a guy, the really tall guy with the
In the blue
goatee.
top. Yep.
Yes.
We'll check in with him.
Yes.
Thank you. That's
Thank
a
you.
very important
And then
question.
the guy in the plaid is the main geysers guy right here with the big beard.
Our recycle water program in geysers, we send about more than 80% of our water to the geysers project.
80%.
And it's not seasonal. You're about the same amount of it.
Exactly. We have an agreement with him. Urban and ag is
Frequently
usually
asked
during
questions.
the
This is about the geysers.
once it quits raining.
This is about our recycle water program. We do have recycle water for landscape irrigation.
And then you're
From here,
Yes,
geysers.
for here we send recycle water up to the geysers to our ag customers and some commercial landscape irrigation customers that we have along Stony Point Road.
And is that water free of
It's tertiary treated water, so it's
So
very
explain
high.
give us a definition of the tertiary treatment.
Tertiary means it goes through this really intense treatment process. It goes through primary treatment, secondary treatment, tertiary
Which is
treatment
a
and disinfection. Yes,
And that's what we're going to see on the walking
that
tour.
is correct.
You're going to see all of that.
Okay.
so that removes all the pharmaceuticals and
Fluoride.
As much as
those types.
So it doesn't
Not
remove everything.
not completely, but most of it.
I would say that, maybe you could talk to somebody in the lab. They could probably give you a lot better
They
answer on
sent
that
us
one.
over here to you.
Really?
They did. And they sent us over here to also confirm that the sewer and the water systems,
Storm drain.
the storm drain,
Stormwater.
Completely separate.
Completely
they are
separate.
because in many areas
Yes, they
not.
are. Like San Francisco has a joint. There's a lot of cities that don't know. We have always been completely separate.
Okay, so then let me ask you,
Yes.
with your knowledge perhaps of when they're not completely separate, I've heard that with heavy rain events, people are encouraged not to use much water, to put more water in the sewer system, which can cause backup and
That
overflowing.
I don't know anything about honestly those joint systems like that.
Okay.
I know that San Francisco is on one of those, and I know that somebody from there would probably be able to answer a question like that a lot better. But San Francisco is they go directly to the ocean, so they don't have to go to the same level as we do.
So they just go, so they're not treating as much.
And to a high is the same level that we are. I'm not sure what level
And
they
is that
treat
because
to.
you don't have as easy access to the ocean, you're more inland? Or-
Right.
Well,
We-
we reuse.
We send ours to the geysers instead, and the farmers use it.
Okay, so now let me ask you about the geysers, because certainly I see
Sure.
the condensate. What would that be that I see in the air? Steam. I'm seeing steam in certain conditions, and I'm now learning that sewer water's being pumped up in there and heated up. What are the toxin levels that are coming up and out of the steam?
I have no idea. That would be, we're injecting water into magma basically.
Yeah.
So whatever properties are in the magma that's being cooled, that's probably where the steam's coming from.
So that would be a fracking process, basically.
I don't know about fracking, but
They inject things.
they're injecting into the ground. Yeah, but the geysers, Calpine, they have a tour there also.
Right.
And they would be able to answer those questions a lot better. I don't want to speak out of turn on that one.
That's our goal.
Well, is there anything else?
There's information about the geysers, which you've got
Then
here.
I'll take one more.
Oh, you already got one.
Well,
You have two
I
now.
have two.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want three?
I have very curious grandchildren. No, I.
That's my daughter right there.
Oh well, hey.
That's a very old picture because she's 14 now.
Yeah.
She's darling.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now I'm imagining that you would not let her drink out of that first vial.
I wouldn't want to drink out of any of those vials.
No,
Not even the final one?
the final
Not
one.
that final one there?
The- Is there, but they're
Well,
irrigating
okay,
with
so the
that.
difference is in the old
irrigation.
days, they used to be able to, the water was pretty clean, okay? We were using, it still is clean, but in the old days we were using chlorine to disinfect,
Yes.
which kills the bacteria in the water. Now we use the UV light, which sterilizes. So if you drank it right after you came from there, you're going to have those bugs in you. They're not going to be able to breed, but they'll be sterile in your system. So I'd rather not have those in me.
That's good to know.
That's
So
a very
don't drink the treated wastewater. And all the signs say do not drink.
Really, because
Not
we know,
potable water.
We know that many countries throughout the world are drinking. That is their municipal water supply.
Well, they're
They
probably
probably-
going to a reverse osmosis, a higher level to be able
I
to.
was reading in Africa the amount of deaths that are caused by the problems in the water treatment plants.
How about that YouTube where Bill Gates is standing by a machine where it processes sewer water,
Haven't seen that.
and at the end, water comes out of it, and he takes a drink of it and he says, "Yeah, it's good water."
There's some areas like Orange County that does advanced purification, which takes it like 2 steps further to purify the water than it would be if you would be able to drink it.
So now, why, in your opinion, are they purifying sewer water? What is the reason that we need to consider drinking treated poop? Why?
Shortage of water someplace, I would guess.
Where?
If there was a shortage of water, say we lived in a desert and that was our only option, but we don't. I mean, we have plenty of water. We don't do that here.
Okay. But we are treating and so basically I'm thinking that what I'm seeing with the farms is a form of water treatment because it's land water treatment. Is that right? Because then it goes into the soil.
Right.
And
Well, think
so,
about it. It's recycled water has been naturally recycled in our system. What we're doing here is just taking the technology to replicate what's already happening in the environment with water, right?
We're just speeding it up.
Water naturally gets recycled in our environment.
okay.
So
when you spray it on the fields and it
percolates, filters,
it filters it further.
and gets purified as it goes through filters, through rocks, and
Which would be more of a natural way. in
that's the
which-
natural way of treating
But now
water.
I'm understanding because of water shortages, we're having to treat our water because there just isn't enough water because we're running out. That's what I'm hearing. That's not what I know, but that's what I'm hearing. Is that what you're hearing? That we're running out of water, there's a drought, we need to conserve water
Well,
use?
we live in a drier area. So, if we live tropics where it rains every day, okay, you probably wouldn't need to worry about your low flow toilets. You probably wouldn't need to worry about your low flow water shower head, okay, because you're getting fresh water. Water's being every day. So you could
From the
use
rain.
more.
From the rain.
But we're in an area that we go through several droughts. We don't have a long winter period, we get 2 or 3 big storms a year. So we've gone to the low flow, everybody's conserving water, and that's so that everybody has water, I mean, it's just better for everybody. It's better for the environment to use moderation.
Okay, well, this I found interesting because there are primary water institutes that drill for new water that is renewable down below. And it's not been influenced by any environmental toxins such as bomb testing in the air, the geoengineering in the air, any of the toxins that we have in our air, and then of course the water that we collect in our reservoirs and treat in our municipal water supply is highly toxic because it's from rain and snowmelt and it's collected by washing over the land, which is highly poisoned from fertilizers and other chemicals, and then we put more chemicals in it to treat it so it's not as toxic when we drink it. But primary water is something that is fresh and clean and pure, and they note that where people in the world access primary water because they know it, their IQ is much higher. And so I guess I'm caught in a vice of misunderstanding what is going on. when I know that water's accessible by a process of wells that would access primary water, and that would be a delivery system as opposed to the open collection of the Central Valley aqueduct system. You might be interested in this. If you are, I can certainly give you this. It's an opportunity to look at what you're hearing me say right now. You don't have to take it, but I found it to be very interesting and in an enormous conflict of what I'm hearing. So, and I'm concerned about that conflict.
Okay, well, what would you suggest we do with the wastewater if we don't treat it?
Okay, I'm not here,
Well,
here to
we
solve
have
that.
to treat it, and we have to get rid of it, and we don't want to put it in the river. You know, so I mean,
Well, we have an environmental problem because so much of the wastewater is so poisoned from all the pharmaceuticals that people are taking. So number one, it's poisonous because it's substantially poisoned through Big Pharma. And how we deal with people that are so toxic and that are flushing things down their toilet, lots of birth control and pet medications and all this kind of stuff, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. I'm not suggesting that we're not in trouble. We're in massive trouble. But I'm suggesting that being sold the idea that we're running out of water and we have to retreat it to drink is another conversation. It's aside from treating the wastewater. There's a divide there. And how we eventually go forward with treating the wastewater is going to impact what is happening in the accessing of the aquifers that are literally absorbing a lot of the treated toxins and then are just simply pumped back up and distributed in our water supply. And it hasn't been treated. It's just a cauldron of a collection. And that's why they talk about all these recharge basins, etc. And it's basically just a holding tank, like a big water collection tank, but it's in the ground. And it's just being held in the ground. And so I'm looking at the larger picture and concerned about what is not being taught in schools today and the misunderstanding of what water really is and where it really comes from. Because sadly, I've seen now that in schools, the kids are only learning about the secondary water supply, which is rain and snowmelt, and they are not being told about the primary water supply, which is in the flyer that I wanted to give you, but it doesn't seem like maybe you're interested. So I can appreciate the fact that that might sound a little strange. Maybe that's why you're reluctant, but that's okay. Just at some point, think about looking into primary water. And it was what Muammar Gaddafi was able to supply the Libyan people with primary water. He had an amazing labyrinth of plumbing under the African desert of pure, fresh, new water, not coming from the environment. It was not rain or snowmelt. And there's higher IQs, as I may have mentioned earlier, by drinking that water. And that was considered, at the time, the 8th wonder of the world. And it was blown up. It was blown up. Curious. Very curious.
thank you.
Thank you for your information. I appreciate it. Okay, so we're at the beginning of our walking tour. You can see the tour schedule here. There was a choice between a hayride and a walking tour. The walking tour gets us up much closer and personal. So we're heading out to the walking tour now. And we're going to be filming chemtrailing overhead. And so get that on film. Great. So we're being heavily chemtrailed here today overhead. Lots of environmental toxins, groundwater and air.
Yes.
We're here in Northern California in Santa Rosa, where we were massively burned out on October 8th is when the fires started of 2017. This is an enormous water treatment plant, and we're ready to go on a walking tour. This is Deborah Taveras with StopTheCrime.net, reporting to you about the use of toxins to poison the water supply. So here we go on the walking tour. Is this facility?
I have no idea.
Because it seemed to go forever when we were arriving on your...
No, it's you see that tree? Yeah, that's about the north.
You're talking straight down this road?
Yeah, straight down, yeah.
That very distant tree?
Yeah.
Okay, that is the end of the
All right.
treatment plant? Okay.
Let's go.
Wow.
This is the plant was run by the city of Santa Rosa, but also we're taking the sewer water from Sebastopol.
Sewer water?
Point that backwards. This
Yeah, because
speakers.
we're not hearing. Thanks.
arm through.
You need to
Excellent.
start
Oh, okay.
Start over.
Okay. All right. This facility, this plant was run by City of Santa Rosa, but also we take sewer water from a nearby city like Sebastopol, Cotati, and Roanoke Park. So we can call it the regional wastewater treatment plant. And we had that structure is the headwork.
Excuse me, the structure right here?
Yeah, right in front of us.
What
Right
is-
in front of us.
I
That
couldn't understand that word. It's the what?
it's the headwork. It's a term. See, we received the water, the sewer water
From
at that point. Yeah.
Did you say headwater?
Headwork. Headwork.
Headwork.
Yeah.
I'll confess,
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
build a bunch of this building, so I'm here just to see what they say about it.
And so there's a pipe, underground. So brought the water from Roanoke Road and Santa Rosa, and all goes to that structure.
Wow, it's an important structure.
Yeah. So that's the start point of the treatment plant. And before the water was here, there's a lot of stuff, solid, rag.
Now, when you mean
Yes.
solid, be specific with what you mean by solid.
Like rock, little sand, and grit, wood chips,
Sewer?
sewer.
Poop.
So no, the poop is a good thing. We like the poop, but we don't like the other rag, 2x4.
Syringes?
Yeah, all the other stuff.
So now what about all the poisons in the poop, all the pharmaceuticals?
All we cannot treat those.
You can't
So
what?
those chemical will pass it through. Basically, will pass it through. So this is the screen structure here, and the water was down, 15 meters below. So we bring the water through a big, 16-inch pipe, and they're coming in, but we don't want to lift the water directly through the pump. So we want to screen the water first. So those two structures, the screen, so that will remove all the rag, all the rock, 2x4, all the things you can imagine, out of the water. After that, the water will lifted by the influent pump. So we have an influent pump down the gallery and bring the water up. Let's go. That's a sewer. That's a sewer. Okay, let's go through the primary tank. You see our operator right now is cleaning the screen. This is the daily maintenance activity, introduction, and everything. Okay.
And this is the grit remover. Yeah. So yeah, this is. So the pump will pump lift the water up, and then you get rid of all the solid grit through this. You can see that one.
Watch your head.
We have six big influent pump. Lift the water up. Yeah, you can smell. It stinks. You got to cook the water. Yeah, and those water is after the screening. So the relatively solid, rag-free water. So that water will lift it up, goes to air. Yeah, in a normal operation, we split the water in two. But now, this we call it the pre-tank, pre-air tank. And we are doing the annual maintenance, so we just only use one.
That's why it's empty.
Yeah, that's why it's empty. Because, okay.
So this would normally have water in it like the one
Yeah,
behind
like
us.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this.
There's a step.
Yeah, you can see the water in the color is kind of dark because somebody just dumped the septic tank.
So it's dark because someone just dumped the septic tank into here. That's why
so
it's
that's
darker.
why it's so dark. Yeah, it's a septic tank,
So you mean when they pump it from people's septic systems,
Yes.
they come in with those tanks?
They come in
and
here,
dump
they
them
dump
in
it.
here?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is called pre-air tank. What is the two functions of the tank? One is to fresh up the water, because the smell of the sewer. So we have air pumping in, so there is a diffuser, fresh up the water a little bit, and also the velocity is such it allows the heavy material settle on the bottom. So when the heavy material settle on the bottom, so there's a grit pump. They suck the grit, and through that auger, they get rid of the yeah, that's the first phase.
Is the vapor and the atmosphere full of toxins that we're breathing?
I don't think so. It smells, but I don't think it's
I'm
toxic.
definitely feeling moisture.
It's an unpleasant smell, but it's I would consider it
In case somebody falls in.
This is coming in. This is coming in, and then from here, then the grit water is come to here and split and go into the primary tank. This is called primary tank. Yeah, primary tank. So this primary tank is the velocity is so slow. So all the heavy organic matter will settle on the bottom. Yeah.
So this is the second phase. It goes from there to here.
Yes, that's the first step. That's the second step.
And is all this the same? Yes.
Okay.
Okay. My question was, that's the original dumping of sewer, and so this is the next treatment, the primary treatment.
Next step.
So all of these ponds going all the way out are the primary treatment.
Yes. The question is asked the pre-air tank step, and the primary tank step is a physical primary treatment. Yes.
This is the second bio.
Yeah, that's the second step.
Second step.
The second
Okay, let's go. Yeah, we could. So this water comes to the primary tank, and we have to go through here. There's some scum, so we have to get rid of. So this is the structure. We will get rid of the scum, and all the other material heavier will settle down on the bottom.
So is this still the primary treatment area?
Yes.
That's the question.
Yes.
Sorry, but we really can't hear you, so we have to.
Yeah.
Okay. The question is this still a primary treatment process? Yes. This is still primary treatment.
Why?
So here,
Why are they spraying some water here and not over there?
because on the top there's
That's the
a.
question.
The question is why there's a spray water on top of the surface? Because we can see all the lighter oil grease little ball floating on the top, and we want to get rid of those. So they the spray moving that those scum, in that direction. So the structure auger will eventually collect it.
Got it.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at this stage, basically, we allowed all the organic material heavier than water settle down on the bottom.
So all of the poop settles.
Settle. Not all. Some poop is dissolved in the water.
So it's not all settling
No,
out.
it's not. Sorry.
Okay.
It's just heavier than water. It's settled. It's settled, and we have a collection system, so they will sweep the bottom of the tank, so that settled material will eventually pump into the digester.
Ask the question, please, and answer it. If somebody were to fall in, what happens to them?
The question is, what happens if somebody fall in? We were instructed if somebody fall in, we are not supposed to rescue them. We call the 911. Yeah, because if we do, and probably the people who rescue them will fall into a victim too.
There'll be a victim.
Yeah, yeah.
So what would be the victim? What would happen if you were a victim? What happens if you fell in here?
If the rest, yeah, the question is, if somebody falling in the tank, and what happened to the victim? It's up to his luck. Yeah, we will call the 911. The rescue team will be here. If you come in, in time, faster enough, they can rest it.
So you
But
just
the
stand
operator-
here and watch them until they get here?
Yes, we can.
Whoa.
We can.
They have to wait for 911 to get here.
That's like a 15.
How deep?
The question is how deep the tank is. 15 feet. Yeah, you can do that. You can reach out, do that, but you can't physically get in. Yeah, let's move.
Good luck. Good luck. Because you're still contaminated.
Yeah, it's probably the issue.
Well, see, now there is a life ring over here.
So up to here is physical treatment. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you can throw that light ring to them so that if they can grab it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so read that. Danger. Do not drink this water.
Well, I don't think you need a sign for that.
How many acres?
I have no idea. I can get.
find out.
Yeah, I will find out for you. Yeah.
Geysers, where would geysers be? Over here?
No, they're over yeah,
Over here.
up on the hill.
It's a far away.
Okay, got it.
So you can tell, we collect the water from the top through the weir. So all the light water is just through the trout and coming into here.
There's your best chance for a life ring.
Are we going to see the area where the tissue, toilet paper, Pampers, all of that is?
If you wanted to, after tour, I can show you.
I'd like to see
Yeah,
that
I can
area.
show you. Yeah.
Okay.
The question is, she like to see what all the rag, sample, all the stuff we removed from the sewer water. Okay, so all you have to remember is at this stage, this is the physical treatment. It just removes the foreign object, out of the water. Then so when we have a clear water, then coming to the aeration basin, that started a biologic treatment, biologic process.
Whew. The air's a little fresher out here.
So after the primary tank, and we call it primary effluent.
And affluent means?
Effluent is water out of the tank. Yeah, influent is water coming into the tank.
So effluent means the sewer water before it's
It's a relatively term. It's when we say primary effluent, that means the water out of the primary tank.
It's the water.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Watch your
come to here.
Yeah, there's a, watch out your step here.
Yeah, come to here. This is the, that channel is the primary effluent channel. So that water will distribute it, into the AB, aeration basin. So from that point on, we call this is AB, influent water. So the influent effluent is a relative term. So through the channel here, we give a little bit more air, so fresh the water up even more.
To oxygenate
So
it.
yeah, so you don't smell. And
Now, doesn't the oxygen help break down some of the poisons in the bacteria?
the question is, does the oxygen break down the toxic, toxin?
The bacteria and some of the
Bacteria.
other microorganisms?
No. Because the oxygen actually is the we supply for the bacteria to grow. Yeah. So it's not toxic to the bacteria.
Okay.
All right. So here is the real treatment process. This is we started the biologic treatment from this point on.
Now, when you mean biological treatment, can you define that, please?
The question is how we define the biologic treatment. And the biologic treatment is not physically remove the object or substance. This it's a biological. You use the bacteria to eat up all the organic material, so fresh up the water. So you use the bacteria. So as an operator here, we function like a zoo, the keeper. So we keep a large population, a quantity of bacteria in the AB tank, and we let the bacteria to do its work. And all the sewer water from the primary tank come to here is the food. Is the food for the bacteria.
Okay.
So this AB tank 1, we have 3 paths So this is the first pass. Then coming, that's the second pass, and then discharge from that very end. So this is the AB number 1. And right now we empty it. We're doing the annual maintenance work.
So that's why it's so low.
No, we actually emptied it, and then the maintenance we are going to do all the fixing. Yeah.
Let me ask you, when there's heavy rain events, is it a concern that it will swamp some of these holding tanks?
No. No. The question is when we have a storm event, if the extra water will swamp the facility. No, because it just passes through faster. Yeah. Here you can see the diffuser on the bottom. All the diffuser supply the fine air bubble. When we have air coming in through the diffuser, so that all the fine bubble will just bubble through to the top. Yeah, that oxygen maintains the health life of the bacteria. So this bacteria is oxygen demanded. Yeah, they need a bacteria. They need the oxygen to survive. They need oxygen to strive. Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, that's important. Very important. So once past the 3 pass, it take about water-wise take about 2 hours. For the water to come in. From that point on, it's just out.
Out where?
Out to next step. Yeah.
Next.
Okay, this is a functional aeration basin. So this is the last 3rd pass. So from here to that pump, then the water will be discharged to the next step.
What's the time frame of when the water enters the plant to where it leaves the plant?
About 12 hours.
12 hours.
The question is the hydraulic detention time, how long the hydraulic detention time. It's about 12 hours from the very beginning to the discharge.
Now what is all this foam?
It's a little foam. It's a happy foam. It's show the activity of the bacteria. When they're happy, they create a little crispy bubble. Yeah, the foam.
So if you fell into this, would it be as detrimental as falling in over there?
Yes, because the question is if somebody happened to accidentally fall into this AB basin, yes, it will be detrimental because the air in the water make the gravity little less.
Oh,
so yeah, you will when you fall in, you will sink faster. Yeah. So it's very dangerous.
The foam is good, like in the compost drawer. When it gets a head of foam on it, that's when the good
Okay.
stuff.
So this is the first pass, that's the second pass, that's the 3rd pass. So you can tell at the very beginning of the pass, there's no bubble, no air bubble. Why? Because it's designed that way. This is what we call agnostic zone. The purpose is, when we flush the toilet, we're bringing a lot of ammonia into the soil water. And we have to get rid of the ammonia. The one way to get ammonia is to do the denitrification.
I'm a construction person, so I've had to shut things down.
The nitrate,
Calculate how long
through the
without air and still stay alive.
The nitrate, the bacteria.
And collagen. I'm sorry, third and
one
still.
of the molecule and so the nitrate become a nitrogen gas. So the nitrogen gas is just come to the atmosphere.
So we're breathing that now.
Yeah, it's not because the nitrogen gas.
Most of the atmosphere on Earth is nitrogen.
Yeah, yes, most of it. Yeah.
Okay, so what is?
This is the big air pipe. So the second of the function of the AB basin is to remove all the remaining dissolved organic matter. So they take that organic matter as a food and they grow. The bacteria grow. So they grew so fast. We only want to keep certain population in the AB tank. So we have to find a way to remove the extra population of the bacteria. So that goes to the next step. Let's go.
Turning it off every once in a while.
Secondary structure. So from this point on, it's become another physical process.
This is empty.
Yeah, I want to show you the empty one first.
Before we see.
Yeah, the question is, this is empty. Yes, we want to show you the empty, how the structure is structured.
So this is where, when it's full, it has all the raw, everything is in it.
No. When this is full, the water is actually from the AB basin.
So it comes here next.
Yeah, it's come to here. It's come to here for settling. So all the extra bacteria we call solid, mixed liquor solid, it just settle on the bottom. And you can see the collection system on the bottom here. So it sweep the solid to the center and then pump it out. And those bacteria stay here for another less than 2 hours, and they have no food. They are very hungry. So what do? We pump them back to the AB basin. Then big portion of the bacteria will waste it out. The solid will be wasted out. They go to the digester over there to make a gas for us.
So it's empty because, why is it empty?
Every year during the dry season. Right now we experience dry season. The question is why this tank is empty. Because right now we are in the dry season. We only treat average about 15 mgd per day, and so we don't need all secondary clarifier online. Right now we only have 3 secondary clarifier online. So the maintenance is doing their annual maintenance to fix up here, fix up there, to make it ready for wet season.
For what?
For wet season.
Oh, for the wet season.
Yeah, for rainy season. Yeah.
So is the Santa Rosa and the system on 2 separate? Are the sewer and drain water systems on 2 separate systems?
The question is the Santa Rosa sewer and the drinking water. Stormwater.
And sewer.
So stormwater, sewer, and the drinking water are separate.
Yeah, my question. That was my question.
Yeah, okay, that's the question. The answer is yes, it's separate.
So it's not a combined system with stormwater and sewer?
No.
So stormwater and sewer are not a combined system?
Not combined.
Okay.
Not combined.
Because they are some places.
I don't think so at this age. Because it's against the law now. Yeah. So, okay, now we come to the mixed liquor channel. So
that's water. That mixed water is come from the AB basin. That water come to the channel and feed into the secondary tank.
Still looks pretty icky.
Yeah, because bacteria.
And how do you define what liquor? What do you mean by liquor?
How do you define the liquor? That's just a term for wastewater. Mixed liquor, it's just liquor is a liquid form. Yeah, it's a term, common term for wastewater treatment plant. After the AB basin, that water we just call mixed liquor. Yeah, mixed. Yeah. So this is
Will become a new brewery.
This is the operational secondary clarifier. So you can see the water is very clean.
What stage is this again?
Obviously this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth stage.
And it's called what?
We call secondary clarification.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, so you can see, from here, there's a inner circle area. That's the mixed liquor from the mixed liquor channel, and flowing into the center, then spilled over. To outside, yeah, to the outer ring area. So the velocity is so slow. It's so slow, so all the settleable bacteria will settle on the bottom and just leave the clear water above. So here, you really can't smell anything. Are you still smelling?
It's improved quite a bit.
Let's go down that way.
Let's turn around.
Yeah. Let's go down towards the west. Yeah. Because that step is stair is too tall. Yeah, right. Influence. All secondary effluent.
Used to be the boss.
Oh, I don't know.
At the end of it, he took a glass of water from this place and said, "This is how clean it is." That was secondary. This tertiary.
Yeah, tertiary. Yeah.
But he took a glass of it and said, "Hey, now you can drink this."
You're not talking about who Bill Gates or he did that.
I would strongly recommend you don't drink that water.
But he did.
Okay, that's a tertiary process for after the secondary treatment. So the secondary effluent will lift it up by the big, 3 big pump to the sand filter. You can consider it the sand filter. So basically, the water goes through the sand and capture all the fine particles with it, and trap the particle in the sand. So only allow the water to discharge out. So this is we call the filtration, tertiary filtration process.
How deep is the sand?
The question is how deep the sand is. I remember it's 48 inch. Because over time, we have a PM to measure to see how much sand we lost. So if it's less than 40, we have to add some. So you have to maintain the thick, healthy, thick layer of the sand. Let's go down.
On other projects, but I was here and built a lot of facilities here, and then I worked on the geysers project, the pipelines and pump station that takes water up to the geysers.
Isn't that require a lot of energy pumping up to the geyser?
Yes, it does. But we produce the water, recharges the steam field, and produces far more energy than it uses to get it up there. So,
Now,
yeah.
what about all of the steam from the treated water? Does that pollute the atmosphere because there still are fine particulates there? Would that be correct?
Not much.
Not much.
There's really not much. In general, you know, they pull most of it. In this process, you're removing a lot
Most
of
of it. But we're not supposed to drink it and we shouldn't fall in.
So the water at the end of this process meets state standards for unrestricted recreational use.
Oh, really?
Meaning you could put it in your swimming pool. You can use it to irrigate organic lettuce. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So at the end, so no, I wouldn't want to fall into the secondary tank. That's, you know.
But you can use it.
But here at the end, you can use it to fill your swimming pool.
Okay, well, our skin is our largest organ, so it's going in.
I understand. It meets state health standards. It does not meet state health standards for drinking water.
Watch out.
It has too much nitrogen in it to be drinking water. And the nitrogen's good. You're using it to irrigate crops, right? And yes, there is minute quantities of other things that are left in it through the treatment process. And I heard an analysis where if someone used recycled water as their primary drinking source for 70 years, okay, you're drinking recycled water 70 years, you would pick up a little bit of aspirin that has made it through the process.
And of course, now aspirin has just been defined as being a cause for death.
Okay, and it would be 70 years worth. It would be possibly the equivalent of a half of a baby medicine over 70 years.
So who studies of those stuff? That would be the big question.
That was studied by folks who are in the water reuse organization who are interested in recycling water, which we have always done. I grew up in the Midwest.
And we're needing to recycle because we're running out of water?
Because it's a scarce resource in a lot
Water
of
is
places.
a scarce resource.
Yeah. In a lot of places.
Really?
Sure. In a lot of places. And
I didn't know that.
And I grew up in the Midwest. In the Midwest, the rivers are used and reused all the way down. So that you live in one town and you pull water out of the river and you use it and then you treat it and you put it back in and the next town down pulls water out of the river.
That's the case for us. We get our water from the Russian River, which is being fed by Hillsburg, Cloverdale, and Ukiah.
Okay, so my question,
Actually,
I guess,
ours
would be...
comes from the aquifer under the river.
Okay.
So my
yes.
question, I guess, is really about the fact that we've only been taught about rain and snowmelt as our source of water. That's the secondary water cycle. When we have primary water that's created new water down below the earth.
There is no new water, really.
Really?
There's
Okay,
no new
so-
water. It's
so-
all been somewhere before.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, really? So you're talking about the secondary water cycle
It's
as...
like a big water cycle, right? Big water. So water from the tanks is evaporating and going into the air, and eventually it's coming back somewhere.
Okay.
It's been distilled by solar.
So this is the UV ultraviolet disinfection facility.
Okay.
And it's very cool.
After the disinfection, the water comes to the air.
So that you talk while
So there's bulbs, there's light bulbs.
light bulbs, the UV's coming from the light bulbs. Okay.
There's banks of bulbs that come up and you can change them and then put them back down in the stream. So you can't the UV light's not good for your eyes, but if you can indirectly see it, the channel in there kind of glows a yellowish green.
Where?
In the dark.
Oh, in the dark.
Yellowish
The bulbs
green
are
is visible
submerged,
light
yeah.
that we can see, but ultraviolet's outside.
It's outside, right?
So it's invisible.
Right. It's at the far end of purple. Just keep going.
Yeah,
Right,
it
it's like-
sunburns our
So,
skin.
any
and
more
sunburns
questions?
your retina.
And
Yes,
so
it
this,
does.
And so this fountain here. So
Nice
you
guy.
see that at the end of the tour, the tour guide would take a beaker and put it into the chlorine contact basin here and show you how clear the water was. So we built this UV facility, and this is now just emergency backup. And we said, okay, tours, there's no place to show how clear the water is. It's all in this channel, and it's kept covered because they don't want algae. What are we going to do for tours? We said, fountain. We'll make a fountain.
So now let me ask you.
So I worked with Dan Carlson for many years, and so we made this fountain. Contractor was working for me, and I was eating lunch in my trailer there. And Vaughn comes in. He says, "Jane, you got to come out here." I said, "Okay, can I just?" "No, you got to come out here." They had built the fountain and had redirected the water to the UV facility. Previously, it had been a little chlorine in the water, and it would go into the discharge pipe with a little bit of chlorine in it. Once we started the UV, no more chlorine. So now it's going over to the pond across the way. The fish in the pond across the way discovered, oh, it's nice fresh water over here. That bad chlorine's not here. We're going to come. This pipe's kind of nice. So there's fish hanging out in the pipe, coming back this way.
How many acres?
So the contractor turns on the pump to start up the fountain.
Fish come out.
Fish clogged up the pipe.
Not
Chiapino.
whole fish?
Yeah, not whole fish. But you can kind of see how big the fish were. Okay, we're going this way.
How many
We're going this
acres?
way.
How many acres?
I don't know how
is
many
this?
acres. Yeah. Party part, yeah.
Can you
in
say
the
that?
digesters.
He can tell
say
you.
that?
Yeah, it's not part of the walking tour today.
But what happens?
So the solids get pumped into these huge digester tanks
At
And
the
the-
beginning.
near the end,
near the end.
where the solids are separated
Where
out
the,
from
sol-
water.
the
Yeah.
solids, now when we say solids, we're talking...
It's still sludgy. It's still
Yeah,
liquidy.
We're talking...
Remember when we walked across and we saw kind of clear water and then
Yes.
we saw really muddy looking water?
Yes.
That muddy looking water goes to the digesters.
And then, so explain that.
And naturally occurring bacteria are in an anaerobic, means no oxygen, situation in these giant digesters. And in the process, they fart. They give off gas, methane. We collect it. We send it to the big cogeneration engines that then help power the plant.
Okay, so now we're coming... Okay, so now we're entering the head work.
So this is the product of the screen. So
Okay, so this is what comes out after they screen poop. Comes into the plant. So this is nasty.
yeah, you are part of it. Because every time you throw the rag, into the
No,
toilet,
we don't throw rags, we're on a septic system.
anytime you throw the stuff, in the toilet,
We're on a septic system.
no, the septic system still, because you have a contractor, right, to suck up your septic tank.
To empty the...
If it's, the contractor
Come
to
and
dump
dump
it
it
here,
in here.
it's already, it's in here.
I got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so everybody contributed. Yeah.
Okay, so is this it?
This is the rag.
That's the rags. Is that
That's
what
the
you
rag.
were going to show us? So we're entering a big vat of what they call rags and all the products that are flushed down the toilets. This is as it directly enters. This is very nauseous, very disgusting. This is not part of the tour. This is not the tour.
So this is the heavy.
So that's the
That's the has no value to the wastewater.
And so where does that grit go?
It goes to the landfill.
To the landfill.
Yes.
And then what happens with it at the landfill?
The landfill, they basically cover it up with dirt. So over time, it will just dissolve.
But it leaches back into the groundwater supply.
I don't think so. Right now, the landfill, they have a regulation. They have to put enough layer on the bottom, prevent the leaches to the groundwater. Yeah. So it's all figured out. Yeah.
Okay, because we do know that certain aspects, certainly on military bases and other locations, they end up becoming Superfund sites because they have such high levels of toxins. And then millions and millions of dollars are presumably used to clean up toxic areas after they've been contaminated.
It happened in the old days.
In the where?
Old days.
In the old days it
Yes.
happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I want you to pan the sky, Lou, right now.
let's go this way.
Because we're at the Laguna Water Treatment Facility under very heavily, I wouldn't say heavily chemtrailed skies. Today I would say it's moderate.
We are so fortunate and every day we feel we make a difference for the community.
Okay, so let's cut it. Okay. So I want to thank you very much for the tour and all the explanations. I know I asked a lot of questions, and I really appreciate your answers.
You're welcome.
And I know that you just said we're welcome to film. And
Yeah,
we
you'll
did.
film it all the way
So thank
to
you.
the end. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate
I
it.
never stopped here, so
Yes, you
that
didn't.
showed. Yeah.
Okay, so now again, we're concluded our tour at the Laguna Wastewater Treatment Plant here in Santa Rosa. We're in the area here in Northern California, about 60 miles north of San Francisco, where the heavy fires impacted us tremendously during the early morning hours of October 8th and 9th of 2017. And we're a community recovering, or attempting, I should say, to recover from disasters. So thank you, everybody. Please go to stopthecrime.net, look at some of our most recent YouTubes, subscribe to our channel, and be safe, everyone out there. Things are not as we assume or think we are. We have to wake up. Thank you. Deborah Taveras.